Chapter 2 Devouring Soul. The truck didn't stop at all and left quickly. Only one person peeked his head out of the passenger window for a moment before retracting. He immediately dialed a number on his phone. "Young Masters UO, it's done. Are you sure Qin Hao is in that bus?" "Absolutely true. Hee, Young Masters UO, once Qin Hao died, Yi Seiyu is yours. HMPH, well done, snatching a woman from me is looking for death. Hurry up and come back, get rid of that truck." "Don't worry, Young Masters UO. I'll deal with it for you." After the call, the truck disappeared into the darkness of the mountain highway. It was late in the night, and the bus going down the hill had not yet been discovered. It had lost count of how many times it rolled before it finally crashed into the bottom of a cliff. In the process of rolling, it had flung several people out of the window, and Qin Hao was one of those who were thrown out. At this moment, he was lying in a clump of grass, covered in blood. He was motionless, and no one knew if he was dead or alive. Suddenly, he raised his head and screamed at the sky, "Ah!" The mournful shrieks broke the silence of the night. In this deep hillside, it could make one's hair stand on end. Qin Hao screamed as he held onto his head. Ignoring the pain in his body, he rolled away from the bush and down the hill. "Ha ha ha, trash, surrender." In his consciousness, a human-shaped shadow was laughing maniacally, taking advantage of his weakest moment to devour his soul. "No, bastard. Get out of here, I won't give up." Qin Hao roared, holding his head and hitting it hard on the ground. But this time, he really couldn't take it anymore. He could feel his consciousness blurring, his body becoming increasingly out of control, and another person's consciousness controlling his body step by step. "I'll fuck your whole family." Qin Hao once again let out a heart-wrenching scream. This time, his headache was intense to the most, as if the soul was launching its final attack. Qin Hao was in so much pain that sweat rolled down his face. He gritted his teeth so hard that they almost broke. In order to prevent himself from biting his tongue, he bit into the grass on the ground. Countless of plants were bitten off by him, and the juice from the broken grass was mixed with his saliva and sweat and sucked into his throat. "Spirit grass? How is that possible?" The scream was not made by Qin Hao, but was made by the soul in his sea of consciousness. Others might not be able to hear it, but Qin Hao could. Following the soul's miserable shriek, Qin Hao immediately felt his consciousness become much clearer. Hearing the soul scream "spirit grass" again, he seemed to have understood something, so he crazily bit the grass on the ground and desperately sucked the water from the grass. It didn't matter if it was useful or not, he swallowed everything at once. "Ah, no. I beg you, spare me, spare me." The soul screamed and begged for mercy. Qin Hao would never forgive him. He shouted, "Go to hell." "Ah, ah, ah." The soul's screams became more and more miserable. Finally, it weakened until it completely disappeared. Qin Hao's consciousness had finally cleared up, and he felt that he had regained complete control of his body. It was just that his entire body was in extreme pain, and he couldn't move at all. He lay on the ground, gasping for breath. If someone had seen him, they would have thought that he was about to die, but that was the truth. If he continued to waste time, he wouldn't be far from death. Qin Hao also knew his own situation. His vitality was draining bit by bit, but he had no way of healing his wounds right now. He could only wait for the arrival of the rescue people. His mind was in a state of chaos, fragments of memories that did not belong to him flashing through his mind. These were memories from another person, memories that his soul had acquired by devouring another person's soul. That person was called Yuan Hao, and he came from a martial cultivation world called Spirit Martial Continent. There, the martial arts was popular, and ruled supreme. It was a pity that Yuan Hao was born with a rare blocked meridian, and could not cultivate. However, the heavens had bestowed him with another ability that he could remember anything after seeing them. However, this did not change his fate. If he could not practice martial arts, he would be a trash. He then tragically became the abandoned son of the family, suffering from the ridicule and humiliation of others. Living in such an environment for so long had filled his heart with resentment. He was unwilling to give up and wanted to take revenge on those who had insulted him, so he stubbornly practiced for dozens of years as hard as anyone else. At the same time, he hoped that one day, he would be able to find a way to cure his blocked meridian. After dozens of years, his martial arts had not progressed at all, but his medical skills had improved by leaps and bounds, and his achievements were brilliant. Unfortunately, no matter how great his medical skills were, he was still unable to find a way to treat the blocked meridian. Just when he was on the verge of despair, he overheard that there was a cultivation method called Eternity Spell in the clan's treasure pavilion. It could change his blocked meridian. Of course, this was only hearsay, and it might not be true. However, he was like a drowning man grabbing onto a life-saving straw. Whether it was true or not, he had to try. This was his last hope, and also his only hope. After a long period of preparation and planning, one day, he finally found an opportunity to sneak into the tightly guarded treasure pavilion. Entering the treasure pavilion, he was shocked by the collection inside. After finding the Eternity Spell and memorizing the contents inside, he did not let go of the profound martial arts manuals, greedily putting those contents into his mind with his photographic ability, so much so that he forgot to leave in time, only to be discovered in the end. The clan had a rule that if anyone entered the treasure pavilion without permission, the person would have his or her martial arts abolished, even be sentenced to an extreme punishment. Yuan Hao was an abandoned son of the family, so no one would think it was a pity even if he died. On the contrary, many people were rejoicing at his misfortune, and so with unwillingness and a belly full of resentment, he was killed on the execution ground of the family. Perhaps it was because he had too much resentment and unwillingness. Even though he had died, his soul transmigrated and landed on Qin Hao's body. When he woke up and found that his soul consciousness was still there, he was extremely excited. When he found out that the body he transmigrated to was not only not a blocked meridian, but also an extremely good martial cultivation physique, he was ecstatic. He believed that by relying on those profound secret techniques in his memories and using this body, he would definitely grow into a martial arts genius of his generation. When that time came, he would return and kill his way back to the clan, make those who insulted him and killed him pay the heaviest price. After Qin Hao understood all of this from Yuan Hao's memories, he felt lucky. Fortunately he had strong will and good luck, and accidentally ate some spirit grass, which helped him avoid being devoured, and instead helped him devour the other. Of course, there was another reason behind it. Yuan Hao did not have the slightest bit of foundation in martial arts. He was an ordinary person with relatively weak soul force, which was why he was unable to devour Qin Hao's soul. If it was any other person with a strong cultivation base, Qin Hao would have been died. Gosh, brother, we sympathize with each other. We are all abandoned people. Qin Hao sighed in his heart. Initially, he hated this soul for stealing his body, but after understanding the suffering of this soul's master, he felt the same way with Yuan Hao because he, Qin Hao, was also an abandoned person. When he thought of the person who abandoned him, his heart was also filled with resentment. Don't worry, brother. You won't die in vain. I will properly inherit your things. As Qin Hao spoke, he began to use Yuan Hao's memories to find a way to heal his current terrible body. Otherwise, he would really die. After searching in memories, he chose the Eternity Spell. He did not know if the Eternity Spell could cure the blocked meridian, but it was definitely a top-tier healing technique for internal injuries. At the same time, it was also a top-tier defensive technique, and it had 5 levels, namely Qi refining, skin refining, bone refining, soul refining, and spirit refining. Each of whom was divided into 3 ranks. Qin Hao started with refining his qi based on Yuan Hao's memories and cultivation experience. After practicing a circle of the evolution, the sky was starting to brighten. Qin Hao felt that his body felt a little better, but his injuries had not changed much. After all, he was currently just operating his normal qi as a normal person, so it was not realistic for him to think about how much of an effect he could have. Fortunately, he found a few herbs to treat his injuries. If it were before long, he would definitely not recognize these herbs. Now that he was aware of a former medical expert like Qin Hao, he recognized them with a single glance. Using his last bit of strength, Qin Hao crawled to the herbs and directly bit and chew. Finally, he swallowed the rest of the herbs and the juice. With the nourishment from these herbs, he continued to circulate the eternity spell. By this way, he could accelerate the absorption of the medicinal components of the herbs.